Welcome to Subramani. Your attitude towards money is going to be shaped a lot by what your attitude towards money was when you were a kid, or what your parents did with money, where the locality in which they stayed, how much of money did they have, how much of money did your grandparents have, how much money did your cousins, friends, relatives, neighbors have. All this is going to impact your attitude towards money. So if you've had a very difficult and a troubled childhood and your parents fought over money and things like that, then you would be very scared about how to use your money, how to invest your money. Again, let me take a personal example. If my father had brought me up in the locality where we were when I was one and a half or 2 years old, it was a predominantly Tamilian location where I would have maybe taken up a job in the PSU bank, or maybe I would have definitely done my CA, there is no doubt about that. But I would have been convinced that I should take up a job in the PSU bank, and today I would be worried what happens to my life. But luckily my dad shifted to a place called Ghatkopar. For those who do not know, it is a very, very Gujarati location and in Mumbai. And the whole attitude there was you would be mad to take up a job. You should be on your own, you should be practicing as a chartered accountant or as an investment advisor. So the choice of location is important, right? So that is luck, that is not skill. But anyway, overall attitude towards money, what I have is obviously from my parents. I've never seen my dad borrow money. He must have borrowed money to buy a house. I know that because it was a cooperative society, and a cooperative society meant borrowed money. But other than that, I've never seen him borrow money to buy a television set or to travel or to buy any fridge or anything like that. So my attitude towards life has been never to borrow. Definitely not to borrow for these kind of assets, and not even for a car or an office or anything like that. So it's always been one asset sale and another asset bought. So you took the cash and you bought, or you sold something and you bought. So you just move from asset to asset rather than asset plus liability and then liability paid off and keeping the asset. I never understood, also because of the fact that I never took up a job. It was very scary to borrow because one good year meant the next year could be bad, and I was in the worst kind of thing. Equity advising and things, not a great place. Equity broking is not a great place which gives you the confidence that you should borrow. Your returns, your investments, and your income. I remember watching my income fall. Hold your breath. 90% in 1993. Right, 1992 was the Harshad boom, and 1993 when the market fell 46%, your transactions fall and your income can fall by 90%. And if you have fixed costs, you're paying out of your capital, right? So that is how scary life can be. But far more important, what was your attitude towards money when you were 5 years old, 7 years old? That also has a huge impact, right? So if your father earned money and left it in the house without too much of a care, I mean, when I needed money, I would tell my dad, and my dad would say, take it from my purse. It was never a question of let the salary happen. I have not withdrawn money from the bank. None of this was ever given as an excuse. I used to rummage through his passbooks even in 6th standard and 7th standard, and I knew how much he was earning. No secrets were kept from us, right? So me and my sister had access to all his investments. Everything used to lie around in the house, never under lock and key. So I knew what he was doing. So by the time I was in class 11, class 12, I was ready to handle his investments, and he allowed me to. That's another amazing thing. Very few people would do, very few men would do. At least women would think, oh, my son is handling. But my father never stopped me from handling his investments, which means I started investing in class 12. Obviously my father's money, a very little of my own money. So it also brings you to think about value systems, and my father would we had a very good lifestyle, but we never cringed for money. But my mother could never find money for us to watch movies. So movies were a no. Eating out was, yes, 3-4 times in a year, which was 3-4 times more than what many of my friends and cousins got at all. right? So eating out in the 70s and 80s, may not be so much in the 80s, but in the 70s was almost unheard of. So those kind of things. So it gives you a value system. And the school I went to was not the most elite of schools. Went by school bus, and after class 7, class 8, we would start walking down to school, to and fro. That was not considered to be I was not given a car and driver. My dad had a car. Sometimes he would drop me, but that was those rare things that could not be taken for granted, right? So all this shape your views on life about money. Whether you should buy a branded jeans or unbranded jeans, it was not so much of a question when I was growing up. But yes, for my daughter, that is a question. Which class of train should I travel? Of course, younger days, with traveling with friends, traveling with cousins and all, we have traveled by second class, and then the second AC became cheaper, so I don't remember too much of traveling by first class. So those things. So mode of travel, mode of transport, so public transport was the norm, right? So all those things shape your values. Whether you watch a movie at home, whether you go out and watch movies. For us, watching movies was almost not there. So it was, so all those things shape you. Then using money to save time. Would you do that? If you had to rush to some place, would you take a taxi? You had to reach some place in good shape, would you take a taxi? These things, because you suddenly realize that you want to go there in good shape. You realize that you want to go there quickly, right? And sometimes, of course, in Bombay, it is better to take a train, but sometimes you are in a hurry, you do those kind of things. Is it okay to take a train, take a taxi, take an auto? Do you have to think about all those things? Did you have to think about it when you were in class 5, class 6? Did your parents argue too much about money? Did they, any of those things? All those things create an impact on you. Without, then you also learn what is possible. What kind of school can you go to? I don't know why, but I never asked my dad whether I could go abroad, whether I go to US to do my MBA. I never asked him. I'm sure he could have afforded it, but I just never thought it was necessary. But today kids do think and they do ask, and you should know, and your children should know, and you should have communicated with your children about what they can do and what they can't do, because all these things are going to create an impact on them for their life, right? So there could be others who are making more money and having a lesser standard of living. There could be some people earning lesser than your parents did and having a higher standard of living. You never know what was happening, right? You never knew why, whether they could afford it or whether they were borrowing money to do it. You had no clue about any of those things. So slowly you learn why they have a car, why you don't have a car, why they have a bigger car, why they have a bigger house. You keep on looking at all those things as a kid, and then you keep learning. And also remember that you have learned by an example by your parents, and similarly your kids will learn from you. Your kids will not learn from you because you told them. They will copy what you're doing. So habits are caught, not taught, right? So teach by example. When you're making progress, applaud the progress that they're making. Teach your kids something called value for money. Tell them that every toy that they buy has a price, but the question is, are you able to derive value out of it? What kind of education, what kind of college, what kind of MBA, where from? Are scholarships available? Let them learn and explore all those possibilities. Force them to see what are the possibilities. It's always nice if somebody else pays for your children's education, right? That's what we call a scholarship, for which you have to be academically good. Maybe you should have all-round development. Maybe then you can go abroad and you can still afford it. There is good quality education available in accounting, in finance, in medicine, in law, abroad. Question is, do you want to spend your money to do it? So teaching children all these things is part of you. Your own life has been influenced by what your parents did. Your children's life will be influenced by what you did, not by what you say, not by what you preach. Nobody likes preachy stuff. People will copy. You cannot say, I will travel first class and you travel economy. You can say that once they are grown up, but when they're kids, You have spoiled them by taking them by business class. When they go, they will travel business class. The question is, have you taught them values or have you just given them gifts? Thank you.